Beautiful day out there, beautiful people. Today, once again, I will be talking about TBC, the billion coin. By the way, my name is Olugbemi Shokunbe. This broadcast is titled Exceptions to TBC Cookie Rewards. I take that once again. Exceptions to TBC Cookie Rewards. That's the title I gave to this very TBC broadcast. So the viewers, please do check the registration link that is below this video. Below the video on YouTube. So kindly check on the link and click on it, and that will take you to the Kringle Cash registration page. I included in that very description field of this very video, this broadcast. That is my email address, my WhatsApp number, my Telegram ID, and those are actually included for a reason that if you find a need for you to reach me, so either for questions or for clarity on one thing or the other, so you can easily get across using those details, those contacts included. And in today's broadcast, we will be looking into why there are some exceptions as regarding the policy of cookie rewards in TBC, and in which the maximum amount of a TBC coin that can be given out to an individual throughout the cookie rewards period or duration of a TBC is altogether 100 TBC for a lifetime total coins. That is a total TBC coins which an individual can have through cookie rewards. So why is it that is 100 TBC altogether, and is there any exceptions to that? So we get to see all that. So with that being mentioned, and all I'm saying is could there be exceptions to that very rule, or if there are, then what are they, and what qualifies one to actually to qualify into for such exception and then receive over 100 TBC coins altogether as a cookie rewards in a lifetime. So let's get into it proper. So here we go. Alright, to expatiate on that, it has been noted that there is a number of institutions which are actually buying the idea of a TBC, that is they are engaging in TBC with their large sum of purchase of Kringles, and for their actions there ought to be large sum of cookies to be allotted to them for those purchases of Kringles. So away from that, we need to understand that cookie rewards was created for the people only, as cookie rewards allow the people to achieve fast pathway to abundance in TBC weight, and since institutions on their own have access to larger sum of resources, thus those resources cannot be used to access cookie rewards in TBC community. So otherwise TBC will become the very same thing that does not work for the people. And since TBC have a mandate, then I want to believe we should not allow TBC to become the very same thing that doesn't produce results for the people, and meaning that where the few have most of everything and why the masses are actually suffering. So since cookie rewards is the mechanism that is actually designed and is being used to roll out several millions of Kringles to the masses during this distribution phase to a billion people across the globe. A billion people across the world altogether. So in which at the end of that very distribution phase, TBC admin will have created a million billionaires and a billion millionaires, resulting in true empowerment to those that receive the gifts. That receive the gifts of the cookie rewards. So if standing on this very grant, then that mission should not be eroded by large sums which the institutions are actually using to purchase kringles. That is, I mean, the cookie rewards should not, be met out as well, to those institutions with their large sum of resource, I mean, of money, which they are bringing in into TBC, and with which they are, purchasing, kringles. So, meaning there should be a sort of exceptions, on their own side to they, using such large sum to cut away the cookie rewards, which ought to actually, bring genuine empowerment to the masses. All right. So before we get into, the said exceptions, we should get a fact straight here, and that is that TBC is not a currency with a mission. TBC is not a currency with a mission. Rather, TBC is a mission on its own, then with a currency, meaning mission to end poverty across the globe, and then for that mission it uses a medium of a currency. That is a medium of a currency. That is what the mission uses, and the name of the currency is known by the name the billion coin. So it happens that when a member properly study the public notice issued by the TBC admin, then it becomes clearer. The more, I mean, the mission and the mandate of a TBC, becomes clearer the more, to such a TBC member. And admin actually advised us to understand that a legal structure has been put in place where all 1 billion TBC coin are in a master trust. A structure erected by the TBC admin is that there is a structure in place which is known as the master trust, and the 1 billion TBC coin are actually enclosed, or let me say, that is, they are being in the custody. Yes, the 1 billion TBC coins altogether are now in the custody of that master trust. And also there is a sub trust which is created for every TBC wallet, and the coins which they hold, that is the TBC wallets and the coin which they hold. So there is another one which is known as a sub trust, and then that is actually apart from the master trust, and that is coins which the sub trust holds away from the master trust. So individuals do not own a TBC, and that is a fact that we should get right, that individuals do not own TBC. And before one gets a send button in his TBC wallet turned on, he must have actually passed the send button test, which holds like 10 questions altogether in it. And since we are a private community, we are entitled to self-regulation. So with our centralized coin network, any discounter of our coin, we have their send button turned off by the TBC admin, and which is the penalty for breaching the contracted agreements of the community. So other abusive behavior within our community will also result in the same penalty. If a member's send button is turned off, then they will be given a period of time to actually make corrections to the reason that brought about the turning off of such send button in their wallet, and then they can get their send button turned on once again. So it has also be noted that decentralizing coins tend to lose their value because of a small number of people that is discounting such coins, and that discounting actions will drive the price down, and ultimately create a loss of value to all the users of such coins. So a coin like a TBC, which is based on the principle of abundance, requires a responsible admin to regulate it at the center of its usage altogether. So the best way to view our coin is as a community property. For that, it happens that each member of the community is a steward over the portion of the coin which he or she holds, and this is actually implied within our TBC membership agreement, as our coin is a part of a private community, and we all have to conduct all transactions at the published current price only. So all transactions that we are doing with our currency, which is TBC, has to be conducted at the current price only, that is the publishing price only. So we all each are actually saddled with the responsibility to keep a watch over our portion of the coin. So here is actually another important one. There is another important information which we need to digest here. I mean a sort of a supporting knowledge to this which I've mentioned so far above. That is a sort of a supporting understanding, and that is the trust and the sub-trust of a team which the TBC admin has brought in. So once we understand how the sub-trust protect us, I mean we in the community of TBC, and how the old TBC community is being protected by the sub-trust, then we will become more excited. And to explain our trust and the sub-trust further, an example of the principle of that is actually here. So that is that principle is for one to own nothing and then control much. That is an individual owning nothing, however the fellow is as well controlling much. So first of all, I would like that we try look into a sort of a definition or a bit explanation to what a trust is. So for example one, we could say a trust is a person on whom or a thing on which one relies. That is a person on whom someone relies, or a thing on which one thing relies. An example to that could be seen in a statement like God is my trust. So another definition to trust could be something like a condition to whom something has been entrusted. That is a condition to which something has been entrusted. That is if certain things are actually in place, then this and this should follow. That is the condition. So a condition to whom something has been entrusted. So another one to that is could be said, a trust could be said to be the obligation or responsibility imposed on a person in whom confidence or authority is placed. I take that again. That is the obligation or responsibility that is being imposed on a person in whom confidence or authority is placed, e.g., a position of trust. So, and then we could also look into trust like someone that is being charged with a responsibility, that is in the custody of someone or in the care of someone, e.g., we could have that in a statement like to leave valuables in someone's trust, to leave valuables in someone's trust, something committed or entrusted to one's care for use or safekeep. And the last one here is law. That is, when we are talking about a law, when we are talking about an aspect of a judiciary. So trust could be said to be a fiduciary relationship, in which one person who happens to be the trustee holds the title to property. That is a fiduciary relationship could be said to be a relationship between a trustee and a beneficiary. So a trustee and a beneficiary. So having said that is in which one person happens to be the trustee, and that holds the title to property, e.g., trust estate or trust property for the benefit of another fellow who is known to be the beneficiary. and that could also mean the property or a fund that is being held by the trustee. That is a property or a fund that is being held by the trustee. So for the example which I actually said, we should understand that these concepts altogether, to a poor person it may not really make sense, but to a richer person, to the rich people, they already understand what this principle is all about. So for the illustrative example which I mentioned, it happens that this actually involves two dogs. Two dogs are involved. So for the explanation one or illustration one, as regarding that, it happens that there is a poor man who holds a dog, and actually licenses the dog under his name, and the dog bites a wealthy man. So the wealthy man sues the poor man into court, and they win the case in the court. So the rich man decorated his wages, or carefully packaged his wages and then pay off the judgment, and the poor man became poorer. Now, and that is for the reason that the dog that bite the rich man was licensed in the name of the poor man. The dog that actually bite the rich man was licensed in the name of the poor man. So in this second example, it happens that the second dog belongs to a trust. So a rich man actually set up a trust for that dog, and it was only the dog that is only present in that trust, nothing else. The owner of the dog was never involved. The rich man that owns the dog was never involved. So the old trust was never established in his name, but rather in the name of that dog, and the dog was the only thing that is present in that trust. So it happens that that very dog bites a poor woman, and the woman thinks that suddenly she could become rich by shagging the rich man to the court. But the case was dismissed because the rich man does not own the dog, and there is no money in the trust. That is, since it was only the dog and no fund was also present in that very trust. So as a result of that, since no money was involved in the trust, so that simply means no money to be paid out to the poor woman. So the case was actually dismissed. So the point in this example is to welcome the legal structure of a TBC and do not become angry over not owing TBC. I will take that once again. The point altogether in this example is to for us, we the TBC, the members of the TBC community, is to welcome the legal structure of a TBC, and for that we should not become angry over not owing TBC. So the problem with the current financial structure is corruption, and corruption has completely taken over and allowing the cutting away of wealth from the masses majority. From the mass majority. So it is pure evil, and that 1% of the people is actually owing 99% of all the wealth in the world, leaving about 50% of the world's population in abject poverty, and meaning stripping away the means of a man, and that man is likely to lead a meaningless life. So we in TBC we can see how evil this is altogether, and for this very reason TBC has been forging a new pathway in that we are going on our own, and our own way centered, and we are only being centered on a trust and not on lies. So having to mention all this together, it happens that the 100 TBC coins is worth a great deal today, and we even become greater once we reach our objective goal of 1 billion members altogether. So we have 3 million 116,956 members as at the time of making this very broadcast, and thus meaning that each TBC coin is worth 3,316,956 grains of gold, and we multiply the number with 2.5 or 2.6 dollar, which is actually the price of a grain of gold. Then the value to get, that is which we will get, will be huge, and that is the current worth of a green goods right now. That is the current worth of the green goods right now. So with this knowledge, it happens that a 100 TBC coin will be worth 1 billion grains of gold. That will be by the time we reach our objective goal of 1 billion members, and which is so big that even the calculator that is embedded into the KCBO cannot process the value that will be gotten. So but eventual value is roughly around $250 billion. So with all this coming to one's understanding, it is likely at some point in time that one will feel or draw a conclusion of having too much abundance, especially when one understands the responsibility that comes with having a stewardship. So now we should have a clear vision here that the TBC billionaire will be the one erecting future skyscrapers and establishing institutions of their own, and we also be able to provide liquidity to the TBC millionaires, which are the aligned with in this grand mission of a TBC to raise up humanity from poverty. But in order for an economy to work, there has to be some friction between the socio-economic classes, and for that it happens that not everyone can become a billionaire in the community of a TBC. Not everyone can become a billionaire in the community of a TBC, and that is to actually make the economy to work. So another thing to consider is that there are exactly 1 billion TBC coins. So if it was too easy to get 100 TBC coins to oneself, then once 1 billion once 10 million members, rather once 10 million members collected them, then the admin wallet will run to zero prematurely, and that will be the end of a cookie rewards. So without further incentives to be offered to any new prospect that is coming into TBC. So by that, we in the community we must rather most likely not be able to get to that objective of 1 billion members altogether, and that is once the TBC admin's wallet has actually run out of the kringles, I mean of the currency. So automatically that simply means that will be a stop to the growth of the community, to the growth of the members in the community. So TBC mission is to raise all members up, and meaning that in the end the worst case scenario should be that a member becoming at least a TBC millionaire, and a simple transaction of 40 grains, a simple transaction of 40 grains of gold worth of a kringle will result in TBC millionaire status, and it doesn't get easier than that to become a millionaire. So haven't mentioned a lot there before getting to the exceptions as regarding the 100 TBC cookie rewards limit. We need to get this straight also, and that is that all expressions given is actually targeted towards building up memberships, I mean growth in the community of a TBC. And let's look at how a member will even get to this 100 TBC coin limits in the first place. So for broadcasters, certainly they have the advantages here. Broadcasters get 1 million cookies for every send button which they view, or which they attend. So broadcasters will have to view 10,000 meetings to hit that very limit of a 100 TBC coins. However, that is not likely to ever happen. That is for a broadcaster to view up to 10,000 meetings for him to be able to accrue to himself 100 TBC coins. So they also get 1 million. Broadcasters also get 1 million cookies for every broadcast that they do. And again, it will take 10,000 broadcasts. That is such a broadcasters making 10,000 broadcasts for him to be able to hit that limit also of 100 TBC coins altogether in a lifetime. So meetings and broadcasts are not going to ever reach that limit alone, and for that broadcasters do get 100 million cookies for each exchange of 40 grains of gold of purchase of Kringles, and it will cost about 10,000 words of Kringles to hit that very limit. So we can see that we can actually see that happening in a few cases. That is in which a broadcaster will have access to 10,000 worth of Kringles in purchase using 40 grains of gold. So we can actually see that happening in few cases, but in the principal admin don't want to exceed the 100. As regarding this principal admin do not want to exceed admin rather doesn't want to exceed the 100 TBC limit based solely on large purchases. So this was the reason for a previous article which was posted on the TBC blog that says cookie reward is not available for institutions. So to look at the basic millionaire aspect of it also, a basic millionaire member that doesn't broadcast, that will get 1,000 cookie for the same transaction, and it will cost them 10 million worth of a TBC to hit that limit of 100 TBC altogether, TBC coins altogether in a lifetime. So far there are not these rather are the ways by which members will even hit the limit. So another one to that is the builders that sponsor 100 new members into TBC community. They get 1 billion cookie for each set of 100 members they prospected into the community. So a big builder that signed up 1,000 new members who hit this limit. Unfortunately, it happens that scammers have swarmed around the TBC community, taking the advantages wherever they can. And in the last 2 redemption periods, it happens that all referrals counted towards cookie rewards, and which were counted towards cookie rewards, and email verification was all that was required. That is as regarding those who bring in new prospects into TBC. So what they were actually being measured weights or the yardstick that resulted into their reception of a cookie rewards was just the email verification. So it happens that we all together in the community of TBC, we notice most of the recruiting services around TBC dried up and went away once the membership was based on the pay status and not just email verification. Meaning that is when the admin, TBC admin will change the protocol or the rule by which cookie reward will be given, then from just email verification of people being recruited or being prospected into TBC, and being changed to the paid status. That is, whoever is being recruited into the community of TBC must have gotten what is known as a paid status. Then we realize that all those recruiting services around TBC dried up. So it happens that admin has seen a lot of obvious frauds, that is glaring frauds coming from these recruiting services, and the change from just verification, that is email verification to the paid status, corrected that very situation. So if any member here has earned enough cookie rewards that exceeds the 100 TBC limit based on sign up, then such as sends and sending, I mean the member, that's such a member sending a support ticket asking for an exemption, then they better be real referrals, which the such TBC member made into the community. So they rather be genuine people with a paid status, not just by emailing verifications. So for now, if any member has signed up over 1,000 paid referrals and has for an exception, that can be accepted, and the addition TBC coin or additional TBC coin issue as earned, deserving the reward. But if any member tries to scam admin by claiming all of these are email verified, non being paid sign-ups are real, then he needs to prove such. So we are actually advising, or rather TBC admin is advising to get them to become paid members. Whoever in the community of TBC who has actually brought in referrals into TBC, and the fellow should ensure that they all become, or they establish a paid status. That is, they must have paid their 4 grains of gold lifetime fee, admins lifetime fee, and have them complete their profile also. So a true builder in the community of TBC does not sign up people and immediately abandon them. So being a sponsor comes with some responsibility to encourage their recruits to fully plug in into the community of TBC, that is to fully become committed in the community of TBC, and turning people into millionaires and billionaires for goodness sake, and that is a division. So why wouldn't they, I mean the new intakes, why wouldn't they be committed to the system of TBC? So on the other hand, a TBC member who genuinely recruited and get thousands of new members in the paid status, and they plugged in into the TBC community, and for those kind of builders, admin really don't have a limit for such. That is, whoever in the community of TBC has brought in thousands of recruits, new members, recruiting new members into the community of TBC, who genuinely have paid status. So automatically the admin do not have exceptions for such. So such a fellow should send a support ticket and make his case. So if he has a clean paid referral status, then they have actually completed their profiles. I mean his referrals have completed their profiles, then he fits into the exception, and admin will reward him beyond the limit of 100 TBC. So I would like to repeat that once again. That is, if there is, this is actually the genuine exception as regarding the 100 TBC limits altogether. So whoever in the community of TBC has been able to bring in thousands of new recruits into TBC, and his recruits have a genuine paid status, so he can actually send the support tickets. So, and for that, he should understand that his request will be granted, and admin will approve him being given cookie rewards which will eventually earn him over 100 TBC coins altogether, in that he has actually contributed, genuinely to the growth of the community. So it was noted that many TBC members run live, meetings, and have set up a good system to sign up, thousands of people. Or better still, members have partnered with a number of merchants, and they pass out, members, business cards. So TBC admin could not could go along, with that, as long as a builder members follow up with each new prospects which they actually will sign up. That is a TBC member securing the service of a particular firm to recruit new intakes for him. Well, there is no issue on the side of the TBC admin, provided such a member follow up with his new prospects, and he assists them in establishing what is known as a paid status. So some sales funnels could also produce thousands of paid referrals. So as I said earlier, all exceptions related to building up a TBC membership will be considered. We take that once again. All exceptions as regarding the reception or receiving of over 100 TBC coins to oneself, provided such is on the basis of growing the community, then it will be considered. So admin will look at each situation on a case by case basis. So that is, admin will conduct a proper investigation into such, and we all should understand that here in TBC, honesty is the best policy. So as I used to say, understand here that our TBC is very genuine. TBC is real and very real. TBC is changing destinies for good. TBC, the billion coin, is the people's money, and TBC, the way it is a disruptive ideology here to cause a shaking to the foundation. I mean a shaking to what many of us thought or we understood to be the norm, and the norm that a government is the one that is in the control of money. So TBC is here to change that order of money and release our right of money to us. Releasing money into our hands in abundance. So I wouldn't know if there is someone here who has actually noted this also, that TBC is a community that is highly educated, and I think education is a power. So an enlightened group of people will definitely cause an eruption to a new order of what medium of exchange that is or that be. So to the order of money. So crypto currencies are here to stay, and believe me, the way it is, TBC is actually the king among the cryptos. So, cryptocurrencies, they are actually here to stay, and with what we have in place as regarding TBC, the billion coin, it is the king among the crypto currencies. So the viewers, please do check the link that is below these very videos to get yourself registered. Not just you clicking on it to register. So you need to pay 4 grains of gold, which is the lifetime admin fee. 4 grains of gold, which is the lifetime admin fee, and that is what will open you up totally, practically to everything that is present in TBC. So you need to do that also, and I will advise that you join the community of the billionaires this very day, and have your life totally being transformed for good. So abundance we have in TBC, and that will release a peace of mind to you and to us all together. So thank you for watching this very broadcast.